And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is back at you on a Tuesday. We celebrated a little bit of Martin Luther King Day yesterday on Monday, which would typically be a day in which we would do the show. This is Tuesday. But what's good about Tuesday, we get to review not only the NFL, but the national championship game that if it were Monday, if we did the show, we would have to rush or wait and see as it went on. It might have missed some of the game. I ended up doing it anyway. But the NFL is getting set. The picture is getting clearer. We're a step closer to knowing the two teams who will be playing in the Super Bowl coming up. And then the national championship game, we'll talk about that as well. What's going on?
What's happening? Had a big weekend. I watched a lot of football. I missed the beginning of the game yesterday when I got to it. Ohio State was pulling away, so I changed the channel. Came back. Notre Dame was trying to come back, but they couldn't hold the Ohio State offense down and get the ball back to try and go down score and hit a 2-point conversion to tie it. So congratulations, Ohio State. But all that talk, you're one of the greatest teams, blah blah. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. Two losses. There's no team with two losses can claim to be one of the GOAT teams of all time.
Oh, yeah, about the same. Definitely not one of the GOAT teams, but they can claim being national champions because they did go through a route that other teams just hadn't gone through with the expanded playoff format.
Well, you know what's funny though, too? Urban Meyer's on record saying if you don't win your conference, you don't deserve to be in the playoff. Well, guess what? Ohio State, they didn't win their conference.
No, they didn't. They didn't win their conference, but that also
congratulations,
means that Notre Dame should have been in there because Notre Dame was not in the conference. So I don't know how that picture would have worked out. But you know
12, 12 is too many. 12 is too many.
12, you know, man, see, they have to find a happy medium because when you had 4 teams, people whined about it. Expanded, give those teams that might have been able to sneak in the past, you know, like the Boise State from the past or the TCU from the past that were always on the cusp, or even that UCF team a couple years ago who went undefeated, claimed themselves to be national champions, and there was a serious argument to be made because they beat the man who beat the man. When they beat Auburn in the bowl game, that Auburn beat Alabama that year, but Alabama won the national championship. So theoretically, they had a real claim, and they were a good, very good team that year. But you expanded it. Now you have even more issues, and I don't know where the issues are really coming from. You would think theoretically as well that more college football is always a good thing, especially that deep in the season, so much on the line. You would think they would pull out those reserves or whatever they have left, that battle of attrition all year long would really matter and mean something. To me, at this point, this late, it seems anticlimactic. I've said it before. It seemed anticlimactic for some reason. I don't know how they make this better. You don't expand it more, but that's going to happen in the future, I believe, only because I think that some of these teams may secede from the NCAA and they may have their own super conference. And so you can expand it, make more money. And it seems like more about that than just exclusively having your national champion.
Well, I mean, by the time you get to the national championship game, that's what their 15th game, 16th game, something. They're damn near playing an NFL schedule. I think it's ridiculous. College players should not be playing NFL length seasons. You know, they're younger kids. The kid who made the splash play at the end is a freshman. But how many freshmen are going to stay healthy? You know, for a 15-game season. Not to mention, they're supposedly student athletes. They got to go to class. You know how
we already know. Come on.
I'm just saying, man. At least portray yourself as caring about their academics.
Too much money at stake.
They don't even portray that they're student athletes anymore.
I think there's too much money at stake for them to even fake that they really care about them being student athlete, the quintessential student athlete, when in reality, you can pick a handful of teams on the regular level and just look at the Ivy League for the rest of it to see student athletes who are legitimately student athletes. The regular teams like Stanford, like Cal Berkeley, like Duke, like Notre Dame to an extent, if not Notre Dame, period. Teams that Michigan, believe it or not, in terms of academics. So, yeah, you can look at those teams very far and few between if you were to name some teams. But I think when you think about all of the games that have been played, I know years ago, BYU, I believe, went 14-1. That's not going to happen all the time, but with this, it's likely to happen more often than not. But the Division I AA, the FCS, They have their playoffs. They play in the ordinary amount of games. When you look at the end, I think now because it's now the highest level, people put more eyes on it. You look at Division 2, they have a tournament. All of these other divisions have tournaments where they're playing more and more, and some of those schools have more schools than the NCAA FBS.
Yeah, I get it. I just don't agree that they should be playing 15, 16 game seasons. That's to me that's ridiculous. And you got Goodell talking about they're going to eliminate another preseason game and go to 18 game
Yeah,
seasons.
we know that. Yeah, we knew that because he said that a few years ago, get rid of some of these preseason games. I believe have two. And I do think that coaches can make their decisions with just 2 weeks or two games because they're doing so much in between time with OTAs and all these other camps and all of these get-togethers they have before the training camp even starts. They have an idea of who's doing what, who's not doing what, and you just need a few live games to see how it really works out. Maybe in those cases, we'll see a lot more of the starters hanging out a little bit more in these games towards the end because they got to get sharp before that first game. I don't think they can leave it up to the season to where some of your better teams or favorite teams start showing their true selves in the third or second or the third or fourth week of the season.
Yeah. Do they really get to evaluate their players though? I mean,
I think they evaluate
the
their
ones
players.
on the bubble.
The one you
I
get
mean,
to how do you
because sometimes you can see things in drills and whatnot, and maybe a guy's not all that impressive. Then get him out on the field, and he's a monster.
that's
Maybe
true.
not a monster, but like, whoa, I didn't know he had that in him.
Yeah.
But how do you really find that out if they're not playing games?
How do you get to the bubble? They do so many things now, and it's so physical in practice, anyways. I know things have changed from way back in the past. They have these rules in place so you can't be as physical, and coaches do it anyway because the investment in these players is so large now. You don't want to risk anybody. We've seen things like that. Charles Bentley, remember him years ago when he had gotten injured and it just ruined his career. So we're talking about from all the meetings they have, maybe they add a couple more OTAs, maybe they add some more of these other things that you can have an idea because a lot of this is physical, but in the classroom, you have, I think you get on this level, you can get a really good idea of who's legitimate, who's not, and all you need to do is translate it onto the field in real time to see if they can make those same split-second decisions in full speed with a little bit of pressure on their brain at the same time, not cookie cutter, just knowing what you're going to do because you saw it in practice. So yeah, but either way, and it still goes back to the hypocrisy of the NFL. We've talked about it before. They're concerned in putting money up for CTE, past veterans with CTE. So how do we help CTE? Add more games. That's how much we care. Get more CTE.
Or at least they let them wear the cushion tops for the helmets now.
That has nothing to
I don't
do.
know how effective that is, but
I don't think it's effective at all because it's the concussive impact. It's like boxing. The
if your
helmets in
brain gets
boxing.
rattled, your brain gets rattled.
Exactly. Your brain gets rattled upon impact. And anytime you still have that 210-pound running back, which is a pretty big dude, but he's getting hit by that 250-pound linebacker who's a bigger dude at full speed, that collision sport, not just contact anymore, your brain's getting rattled. At least in boxing, typically you have people in the same weight range that fight each other. So it's not as dangerous in terms of the concussive impact, but you get more of it. But then you have those hydration clauses, and if they don't have them, you can get an Arturo Gotti deal with Joey Gamache, where you're 20 plus pounds or so on fight night more than the next guy, and something like that happens. But in the NFL, that's the regular thing. They're not trying to cut weight. They're coming the way they are.
Right. So speaking of NFL, we're gonna talk Lamar Jackson or Ben Johnson first.
Oh man, let's go Lamar first, man.
All
Lamar,
right.
Man, look.
Before I forget, let me get this off my chest because I'm seeing a lot of people saying Lamar didn't lose that game. He doesn't deserve a lot of blame. Mark Andrews. Yes, no way should Mark Andrews have not caught that ball. All right. However, going back in time to his fumble,
Yeah.
I argue if they weren't down 21-10 and they're trying to catch up, he's not trying to make plays and run around to get to the outside and gets that ball knocked out. If they're up or if they're within 7 or 3, he catches that ball. He sees there's guys coming. he takes his hit, he holds on to the ball. But because now they're desperate, the playoff Lamar is in full effect, giving the ball up, throwing the ball away. Shit, I got to make a play. And oh shit, they knocked the ball out. That's all Lamar Jackson. That's all Lamar
You know what?
Jackson. He put them in that deficit. To me, it looked like he gave up the ball when he fumbled. Like he wasn't knocked out.
Money on
He
the
was
game.
he was getting his leg pulled on, and it looked like he just dropped the ball. I could not believe it. And that interception, yeah, there was pressure coming, but you don't just throw it up. Oh, somebody's down there. Yeah, the defense is down there. Come on, man. The playoff Lamar, he's now 3-5 in the playoffs.
Man,
He had what, 9 turnovers all year, and then he had 2 yesterday.
4 picks overall, 9 overall throughout the year. And but the deal
And,
is this. He got them in the deficit. He got them out of the deficit.
He did.
And it was a flukish play to drop. That's something you just don't drop.
Right. But now, if you've watched our shows and you're like, but Bias, you're the one that says, don't tell me what you did, tell me when you did it. That's true. He almost erased it. But when you're trying to come back, they've been there before where they're losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to. We got to make a play. We got to make a play. And I'm sure that's what was on Mark Andrews' mind. I got to make a play. I got to get more yardage. We got to score. And in doing that, he got the ball knocked out. Now you got to give Buffalo Bills credit too, because they were stopping them on first down. Mm-hmm. They did a good job, Derrick Henry, limiting his yardage. So it's not like they could just get the ball rolling and moving the sticks. But where were the RPOs? Why wasn't Lamar Jackson keeping the ball running around in, taking the focus off of Derrick Henry? Because they were selling out to stop Henry. They didn't exactly stop him, but they did a good job in the first half.
But yeah, and like last week when you were talking about how often they gave the ball in the beginning, they let him go, 5, 6, 7 straight plays, or was it 8 plays straight carrying the ball? They didn't do any of that. I think they might have done that playing chess instead of checkers, showing that look last week so that they could probably prepare for something like that and then feed them Derrick Henry the way they did. And they didn't let Lamar play the way he did last week, but I guess it came back to bite them. But I still go back to talking about how Lamar got them in the hole throughout the dynamic of an actual football game. That's what happens. And it shows your resolve and show how you can get back. And he got him back. It wasn't a flukish play to where he found the open receiver. It was flukish that the receiver dropped it. It wasn't anything special that made him drop it other than himself. Yeah. Just did not catch a professional football player doing something I could get paid the same amount of money to do, and I can do it just as well. But he's paid to catch it. I can drop it. We can both do the same, get paid the same doing that.
Here's another thing. They went for 2 earlier. He had a guy wide open, and he nonchalantly passed it, and it got tipped. They didn't convert that one. If they convert that one, they don't need a 2-point conversion to tie the game later on. They can decide to go to 2 and say, let's win it here. But it wouldn't have been a forced 2-point conversion attempt. So, go ahead.
And by the way, as far as Josh Allen, if he's not going to put up those huge numbers, he's still going to find a way to hurt you. The way he runs the ball, and he does it deliberately. He's a big guy. He has ridiculous athleticism for someone big. You think about a little bit of Tim Tebow size-wise, but he has more athleticism than Tim Tebow. He has that aggression Tim Tebow has, but he has more athleticism, and he can actually pass the ball. But when it comes down to him, he's big. Well, Tim Tebow's actually, I think Tim was bigger.
I'm talking height. I'm talking
height-wise, yeah. But to look at him and see that he can also read a defense, so he can fool you there. But when things just aren't checking the boxes with him staying in the pocket, being a traditional quarterback, he can run that ball or at least buy himself time to, you don't have to get the 30-yard pass. Just get the 7-yard pass when you need 6 and get the first down and just keep the chains moving.
Right. I mean, you look at his numbers, they're not very impressive, but 16 out of 22, that's very efficient. Yep. And he made the plays he had to make.
And that's what it comes down to.
He didn't have to make a 40-yard strike. He didn't have to lead his team with a minute left to try to tie the game.
Nope.
Because but Baltimore helped them out. They were playing from
And
ahead.
they did.
All they had to do was not give it back, and they did it.
But Buffalo being at home, they were only a 1.5 point favorite, but that showed you how good and what was expected from Baltimore. They had almost everything going their way. It was a tough game as expected, but Buffalo did pull it out. Lamar Jackson's mistakes can be looked at and could be a reason. I'm still thinking that when it came down to it, a catch that definitely 100 out of 100 times should have been made, did not make it, and that now 1 out of 99 chance that it happened was the reason why we got the result we have. And now Baltimore's out, Buffalo's in.
Right. And that was an egregious drop. I don't know how he dropped it.
Absolutely not. This is what you do in the backyard since you're a kid. This is what you're doing.
But let's not forget, there was like a minute 30? Josh Allen's getting the ball. There's no guarantee that Baltimore even gets to overtime.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me a little bit of that Kevin Dyson play with the Rams playing against the Titans, and they acting like it was going to be a game winner. No, that would have tied the game, and it would have gone into overtime. But they make it seem like just as inches away from winning. He was down completely anyway. He just reached it over.
Right. It was like a yard and a half at least.
I'm serious. It was a Kodak moment, so people could put it in the annals of history and act like it was more than what it was. But it ended the way it ended. But yeah, Baltimore's out of it. Lamar, the stigma's on him. There is an argument going back and forth. I think weighted on both sides, pretty balanced, on whether it was his fault or whether the team just let him down because everybody's looking at Andrews and saying it's him, and they're almost forgetting about what Lamar did to put him in the hole. But I think they remember more of what he did to get him out of the hole and how the exclamation point was dropping a ball you've been catching in the backyard with your family member or father, whoever it was back in the day. Something as basic as that was the reason why you lost the game.
Right. So let me ask you this. The way they were moving the ball on the ground in the second half, I was like, man, just give it to Henry. They're not going to stop him. Just give it to Henry. Now, I know that's taking a big risk. The OC, what's his name? Todd Monken. People would have been crucifying him if he got stopped short. But I'm like, man, that's your horse. That's the reason why you got him. You got him for moments like that. Give the ball to your horse. They've been shoving it down Buffalo's throat the second half. You only need 3 yards. I give it to him. That way you don't take the chance that somebody's gonna drop it.
Well, and we talked about that even last week. I think it didn't even matter whether we talked about it. It was just that obvious that this late in the season, all these games deep into the season, Derrick Henry isn't the one you want to see every day. And I think it did start showing up more in the second half, because in the first half, as you said, he's had his problems. But if you keep weighing in with him being about 250 pounds, banging into those guys, they started relenting. But I guess they didn't want to be one-dimensional. They wanted to give Lamar his moment, and he got his moment. And he did get it together. But we remember it for what it was. I think they're going to remember more of the drop pass than Lamar. They're bringing up Lamar, and then Lamar kind of, I'm not going to even call it self-deprecating. I guess taking more responsibility about calling it how shitty it was. It was shit. They shouldn't have. He got on himself pretty hard. And I think that kind of helps a little bit. But man, at the end of the day, we're still talking about what we talk about with Dan Marino. You still don't have that ring.
How do you think he responds? Will he get the monkey off his back, or is he like LeBron before LeBron went to Miami? He's just not going to get it done.
I just don't know what to expect now, because there have been so many opportunities. That window of opportunity was supposed to be left open because Derrick Henry came in. Because without Derrick Henry,
they gave him Derrick Henry. They went all in on the run game.
They went on Derrick Henry. And as a running back and as a physical running back like Derrick Henry is, year after year can be so different because the wear and tear. Now, he didn't get injured that much this year because remember, Derrick Henry down in Tennessee started getting injured. And I thought this was the beginning of the end of his career. That's why things were looking the way they were looking. And now he gets to Baltimore, plays like that, nearly 2,000 yards. If you want to go with the postseason like college, over 2,000 yards. And he looks like a whole new guy. Almost looks like Adrian McPeterson did coming back from injury. And then the following season, since running backs have been devalued, but now the next season, can you expect that same kind of production? There isn't much more, I believe, that I don't think there's a whole lot more Lamar Jackson can do. He's seen everything. He's practically done everything but win the game. He's made every throw. He's made every run. still got the same result, which is no result at all because it's supposed to end in a championship, not just getting there. And he hasn't even gotten there.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know. I can't call it. I don't want to say he's a choker, but again, he's 3-5. He turns the ball over. He gives it up. Like people are saying he's going to win the MVP this year, even though I think Josh Allen deserves it. Okay, let's say he
Saquon
wins
Barkley,
it,
bro.
or Saquon. Let's say he wins it again. How do you play that well and then lay an egg in the playoff
Well,
year after
you know why?
year after year?
Because it's a regular season award. That's it. And we
Well,
see that.
I know that. I'm
Yeah,
just
I'm saying
saying.
it's a regular
Well,
season
how do you
award,
play at such a high level all year,
that's true.
come to playoffs, and now your level drops?
And he played against good and bad teams during the regular season and did well against good and bad teams during the regular season. 41 touchdowns and only 4 picks. When I thought it was just worse than that, just watching it, looking at the eyeball test and thinking, man, he's had a bad game. Man, another bad game. Dan Lamar's up and down. And at the end of the season, 41 and 40, 41 and 4. Like, what the hell? How did he get those numbers? And then
Right,
looking at the running numbers, a lot of what Lamar Jackson has always done. He ran the ball. He's done everything he's been known to do, maybe even more so as a passer this season. And that had a lot to do with Derrick Henry. You couldn't key on both of them. And then you get to the playoffs, and this happens. But he did play better in the playoffs. I know you can't say take away the turnovers because the turnovers was the reason why we're where we're at now. But he did look better overall. He just got the same result. And it wasn't his fault that this guy drops the most basic pass you can catch. But the what ifs, all that out the window. Buffalo moves on. I'm still rooting for Buffalo. I did pick Baltimore before the season started. Green Bay, Buffalo, Green Bay, Baltimore, and now they're both out. Well, Green Bay took the early exit. Baltimore is now out. I think you picked Buffalo, right?
I know I picked Buffalo. I can't remember my NFC team.
No, I know you didn't pick Detroit. You ain't trying to take the NFC North teams. I can't remember. Did you take San Francisco?
I don't remember. I
That was
don't know.
my
It
team
might
from
have been
last year.
it might have been San Francisco. I know I picked them last year. No, I don't think
Man,
I picked them.
shoot. I'm
I,
glad I
th-
didn't pick San Francisco.
I
What
thought
was
I
that?
picked Green Bay.
Oh, no, you did pick Green Bay. You
Okay,
did
then
pick.
both
I
of us
picked them
did.
and you. I picked them and picked Baltimore. You picked them and then picked Buffalo.
Yeah, because I think I was thinking, yeah, we got Caleb Williams, we got Keenan Allen, we got DeAndre Swift. Bears gonna have a really good season, and it'll just be the Bears thing to do that, or not the Bears would be doing it, but it'll just be typical for the Bears that the Packers go to the Super Bowl.
Yep, but
But that didn't happen either.
nope, it didn't. And Detroit didn't do it either. The Commanders. That's the game we have to talk about as well. The Commanders playing Detroit in Detroit. Take the over anyway, as I said. I think before the game, in the middle of the game, even after the game. Anytime you're going to look at Detroit, take the over. I think with 55 and a half, forget about it. These guys was pretty much, Washington was 45-31, the final score. Jayden Daniels, not a flash in the pan. There's a
No
bright
kidding.
future. And if free agents are out there, that's how you bring in free agents. They want to play with this guy. He has that personality. He has that playing ability where free agents want to play with him, be part of something special. In his first season, the first season of new ownership, what does this say about Daniel Snyder and what he's done all these years? Big names, medium names, got no results. You get this guy with a rookie quarterback, and then the NFC Championship game, an old-fashioned NFC East battle between Philadelphia and Washington. But Washington had to take care of business on the road in Detroit against the hottest team and odds-on favorite, Detroit Lions, this past weekend.
I've been saying it. Bears fans' worst nightmare. The Redskins continue to go on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So when I mentioned that I wanted the Bears to take Jayden Daniels, I said it before the draft. I said it draft night. I said it after the draft. And people were like, "Oh, he would suck if he was with the Bears, bad coaching and our offensive line and blah blah." It's not like the Redskins have all kind of talent. It's not.
Everybody got fired.
They had the second pick in the draft. Yeah, new coaching staff, everything.
Ownership.
Yeah, okay, yeah, they have better coaching than the Bears had, but people talk about their line is so good. Two of their starters were backups with the Chiefs. So how good were they? Or how good are they? What the difference is, Jayden does not hold on to the ball.
He gets rid of it.
It
Yes,
out.
he does.
If he was behind that Bears offensive line and he still got the ball out, think he's gonna get sacked 66 times like Caleb Williams did? I don't think so. He's not. He's going to get the ball out. I heard a stat earlier today. When Caleb Williams gets the ball out less than 3 seconds, his QBR is 79. 3 seconds or more, his QBR is 12.
Wow.
1, 2, 12.
Bruh, that's rough, bro.
Do
That's
not
rough
hold the ball.
for a rookie or
So,
anybody. That's damn rough
hey,
because
tip my hat to Jayden Daniels. I wanted him. I didn't get him, but he's the best rookie quarterback of all
oh,
time,
man, he made us forget about freaking CJ Daniel. I mean, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud
right?
last year, we were just glowing over him, and rightfully so. And he's even continued to do a lot of that in the playoffs, even though they did lose the game. But it wasn't primarily because of him. He was making plays in the game. But Jayden Daniels is like on another level. This guy's like a veteran. And I hate to see next season if he just, it's almost like the only way he can go is down because that's what you expect from that sophomore wall. But he's someone that you could root for even when he's not for your team, playing for your team. And man, this guy, you always got to hope. Some guys just exude that confidence. And if you're down, you can look at that quarterback. He can tell you whatever. He's done it already in the regular season. And you wonder if the playoffs are too big for him. And he does it in the playoffs. In fact, he doesn't even get a chance to fall behind. He just runs roughshod or his team, and he leading that team. And by the way, he's been sacked 47 times this season. So, but with that being said, 47 times, and he still had that cool, calm, collected demeanor, getting rid of the ball, making these big plays, moving on to the next against the number one overall seed in the NFL, the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl, Detroit. Offense galore. Ben Johnson and the whole everybody talks about the offensive coordinator as much as they talk about the team. They talk about him more than they talk about Jared Goff.
So I think Jayden Daniels has done something in 2 playoff games that so many quarterbacks have not done in their whole entire careers.
What's
He's
up?
won 2 road games in the
Yeah.
playoffs back to back. Now he's got to try and win a third road game. It's going to be much more difficult, I think, because Saquon runs over everybody, man.
Bro, look here.
You're gonna you be watching from the sideline while Saquon's running the rock.
You know, and this dude was getting stopped, and stopped. When that dude gets in that open field, he has that one move. He doesn't waste any motions. He doesn't waste any movements. He makes that one cut. And he's at full speed in 2 and 3 steps at his size with those past knee injuries. And it's like, dang, this is what they saw at Penn State. I thought it was just another Penn State bust waiting to happen. Well, he put the Giants and showed how good he can be, but it's the Giants. Now he's playing with a team that can appreciate him. The only problem I see is that Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback anymore. He's regressed since he's had that phenomenal Super Bowl game, which he could have been the MVP on a losing team. But Saquon Barkley, you cannot count him out. But I do give Washington every opportunity to beat them on the road. The old NFC East back in the day, Giants, Redskins, even Dallas when they were in there, even the freaking the Phoenix Cardinals were there, but they were just there to kind of complete the division. Everybody else, though, the Giants, the Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Eagles, they were the ones getting it done. And it's back to that. The old heads can remember that, man. The old head NFC East types, they remember the Hogs versus, it's a whole deal. The Hogs and the Eagles, the old Ron Jaworski Eagles, Bill Montgomery.
Yeah, the fun bunch.
The fun bunch. Yeah, the fun bunch. Forgot about those two in the end zone. Man, but
yeah, it's a big challenge for the Redskins to go into Philadelphia and come out with a victory. But it's not beyond the realm of possibility,
no
man. I just hope there's good weather. I don't know if the snow affected the Rams, with the receivers and all of that, but I mean, you got to make a tackle, man. Saquon Barkley had 4 runs over 60 yards.
Yeah, he was
that's nuts.
Them up. But Washington gets cold. Washington gets very cold. I was just there yesterday. It gets blistering cold up there. So they're used to playing in that kind of weather. So it's not like there's some difference between weather and the reason Philadelphia just a handful of miles away.
I'm just saying I want to see a clean game. That's all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because those snow games were sloppy games, and I saw a lot of that snow up there yesterday that was still on the ground, and that was just DC. Not necessarily high skip and a jump, but not too damn far. You could take if you wanted to, you could take an Amtrak from DC to Philadelphia instead of just flying. I mean, but anyways, just going back to looking at just Detroit playing against Washington and just seeing Jared Goff just keep on handing the ball to him. I never was sold on Jared Goff. I haven't been sold here. I wasn't sold with the Rams. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. Definitely not an elite quarterback. I can't say he's not good. We have a lot of guys who are just okay, and you wonder, okay, they're in the NFL, so they got to be good. And he's a starter, so he got to be better than I thought. But he just isn't the guy that carried him long term. And when that running game couldn't get off the way it has been getting off, and they couldn't protect him because that running game has protected him all year. The way he had those wide open receivers, not this time.
Right. I don't even remember seeing Montgomery that much. He was back, but he wasn't back.
He came in early. He started the game, but he wasn't playing like he plays.
Yeah, they really needed a healthy David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And once they got behind, it seemed like they had no chance. I actually think Ben Johnson panicked.
Yeah, you told me about the play that he choked on. You said it was a choke, the wide receiver play that
he called a wide receiver reverse pass, and the wide receiver just threw it up, and that was another turnover. He threw an interception. What is crazy is that the Bears ran that same play like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it had the same result. Keenan Allen threw an interception. I'm like, I hope he didn't get that play from the Bears because it looked eerily similar.
Now, football is a game of attrition. We know
football is what?
So football is a game of attrition, as we already know. We talk about how the attrition.
They're decimated on defense.
I'm about to say it came to a head. All of those defensive injuries. They even had one in the game. Was it Robertson that hurt his arm? I saw the arm when he got hurt. How that thing was looking awkward when they zoomed in on it. So I felt that he probably wouldn't be back.
Yeah, but I guess when your quarterback's struggling, giving the ball away, you get desperate. So
you do, and you get a little bit. I don't know. Maybe you get a little bit down on yourself as a team.
Let me try this. We'll flip the Denny's menu over. Oh yeah, let's go with this one.
Right?
Let's go with Denny's menu. Let's take a shot. We're down 17. Hey, fuck it. But I don't think, even if he didn't call that, they weren't coming back.
Man, yeah, that's probably true. But I'm surprised, and I feel bad for them because that's a team, along with Buffalo, you don't mind if they go, even if they're not your team, because they've been through so much. Detroit fans have been through so much, especially in this Super Bowl era. They haven't won a championship. They won it back in the day when they were NFL championships, but now
I saw a crazy meme. You know how normally there's a picture and then he starts to transform into somebody else. They had Dan Campbell slowly transition into Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton Kershaw, big game can't get it done. Yeah, big game can't get it done. Clayton Kershaw, his regular season pitchers probably the past 50 years, but when it comes down to something that matters, all of a sudden he can't throw the ball anymore, like Randy Johnson in the early years.
It made me laugh because when they're losing, I'm thinking, see, I knew the Lions, you can't trust them, man. And I actually had turned the corner on them. I'm like, you know what? I guess they're proving me wrong. The Lions are really, though. They're really good. But I'm like, no, I should have just stuck to what I was thinking. My initial thought, you can't trust the Lions.
Yeah, but everybody and their mother has taken the Lions, especially Vegas was talking about the number one overall, the odds-on favorite to be the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, but all last year I was telling you, man, the Lions, they're not that good.
Come on.
They just lost to the Bears twice. And then this year, I'm like, maybe the Lions are really, really good.
And you know what? But this is playoff football.
I should have stuck to my guns.
This is playoff football. Teams, the best of the best are there at this end. You don't luck into the playoffs. You get into the playoffs and you just play because you ended up getting there. It's a battle of attrition again. But I just feel bad for Detroit fans and, man, but hey, moving forward, now we see that Detroit's out of it. Well, you got to move forward. And the Commanders going on, playing against Philadelphia. And what other games was out there? The Chiefs and the Texans. You know what? All year long, I've been hearing people talk about how the refs are trying to help the Chiefs. I'm like, here we get the same. These are typically gamblers. The people who lose when they lose the money, they're sharing themselves on. When they don't get the result, it's always rigged. It's always the refs. It's always something that's not in the up and up. This is one of the few times this season that I guess I watched from beginning to end. Those refs, bro. Come on now. Get out of here. I don't know what the deal is. KC is getting calls. Patrick Mahomes is getting calls. They're calling phantom calls. I'm like, holy crap, man. We might need to get a mystery machine and those boys out here to try to find out who this phantom is. All these damn calls are just going down the drain, going into for Kansas City, and they win the game against this very feisty young Texans team. D'Amico Ryans was beside himself with a lot of this nonsense being done too.
Yeah. So the first one, I can kind of understand it, the roughing the passer, because
the headshot you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think he got hit in the head, but
no, that's what I'm saying. They were trying to talk it up as if it was
hit. I mean, his head did go back, and if the referee's behind him, he sees his head go back. Inclination is, he got hit in the head, so throw the flag. The second one, when he's out there running around scrambling, oh shit, here he coming, he just died. Dad, come on, man.
They hit each other.
That's not a slide, man. That is
they
not
hit each other, though.
I know. There's no way that they should have thrown a penalty.
Oh, hell no. They hit each other. They called the penalty on the team. They hit each other.
He was sideways. Who slides sideways? Come on, man. That was not a slide.
I got my Lawrence Taylor rule with today's football. If I can look at a play and see how it's done and say, man, Lawrence Taylor couldn't even play today. If I can say that, that means you're full of crap, man. Because Lawrence Taylor, as great as he wasn't known as a dirty player. So he played within the rules that they had back then. And now they're taking football from what we knew it to be, and of course, allegedly on the safer side, which I believe is still some hypocrisy when you're talking about CTE and adding an 18th game, even a 17th game right now. I look at the Lawrence Taylor rule. Man, if I say Lawrence Taylor couldn't play today, that's BS. That's exactly what it is. It's BS, man. That's the LT rule. But anyways, God, man, I finally got to see it like consistently. These BS calls, these two players hit one another, and they get the call from Kansas against Kansas City. Absolute BS. And then I guess finally,
what about the safety?
The safety? Oh, the one.
People are up in arms about that.
Oh yeah, because it killed that Vegas call, man.
Spread.
Bro, it killed the spread. Now I think that's within the legitimate spirit of the game. You look at, it's not like they did anything special. They're trying to kill the time. They're trying to do whatever. I don't think they were looking at the points. It just happened to be that's what happened. The points resulted from what they had done. I really don't think that these guys, at a point like this, especially in the playoffs, are looking at Vegas's line. But I know, and it's always the commentators. Before it was Brent Musburger, who would always talk about the line at some point. But now it's like anyone, man, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people, and you already know what they're talking about. A lot of unhappy people in these last seconds of the game. It was a 9.5 point line. And now it's freaking 9. You got a lot of pissed off people about the cash checks.
So who you got? Buffalo or KC?
Oh, I'm going with Buffalo this time. I mean, even though
I got to roll with Buffalo, I picked them.
Yeah, but I just think Buffalo has a more dynamic team, believe it or not, because Patrick Mahomes again. I mean, not that he's not playing well. It's just that they don't beat anybody. Well, they beat people, but they don't do what we've been seeing the past 2 seasons. It's likely a lot tougher now going for a three-peat, because I think if they're not thinking about it, teams that are playing them are thinking about it, and they want to be that team. But we're at a point now to where this team, Buffalo, only has to think about getting to the Super Bowl. They're not thinking about stopping you from getting 3. They're just looking at going to the Super Bowl. You're looking at beating them, and then you will have your opportunity to go to a 3rd Super Bowl and try to win a 3rd straight. So that's how I see it. I just think Buffalo has what it takes to be able to get it done. Things have been a little bit too close for comfort with Kansas City the past season. Not even the past couple of weeks, the past season. They've been winning it, but I think the luck may run out in Kansas City at home this Saturday or Sunday when they take on.
So when they played during the season, and we were talking about that game, I said, I think you asked me who's the game mean more to? And my answer was something along the lines Buffalo, because if they don't beat them now, and then they got to go to Kansas City later in the season, and they haven't beaten them in the playoffs, that doubt's going to be lingering. But if they're able to beat them, now they get a little more confidence. Like, hey, man, we can beat these guys. Like, we always beat them in the regular season. Now we got to beat them in the playoffs. And I just think they're in a better mindset to go in there and win. Whereas again, if they had lost, that doubt is always going to be there, man.
Yeah,
We can't beat these guys, and it's the playoffs now. Um, and especially if Buffalo can get James Cook going, man. If they can run the ball
before they
consistently on
did,
that
man.
defense and not make everything about Josh Allen's throws, not his arm or having to run for first downs, make Josh Allen's job easier when the time comes where he has to make a play, he can make the play. Instead of making play after play after play after play and then not making the play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, James Cook has been good later in the season because pretty pedestrian throughout the season. This isn't one of those names that came up during the season of you got to watch out or really take account for James Cook towards the end of the season, like the last 3 games or so. James Cook has been playing well and he's been prominently configured in the rushing attack. I mean, here's their starting running back, but he's been doing something with it. And if he can just pick it up again, do something consistently, because my guy in Kansas City just I don't know what the hell's going on with Pacheco. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, man, I was on that bandwagon. I'm still am on the bandwagon, but the problem is he's just not getting it done. Coming back from the broken leg earlier this season, just
Banged
not
up.
doing much of anything, running the ball wise. But Josh Allen, he's just means so much to that team. Where he goes, as we know with most quarterbacks, as you can say, as they go, the team goes. He's as quintessential to that thought as any other quarterback in the NFL. More so, anything outside of what's known, what Josh Allen is known to do, happening in that game is going to be the reason why they lose. I'm just thinking that they have a little bit more diversity to their game. Patrick Mahomes, all he knows is Kelsey, Travis Kelsey. Who wasn't? They know he's getting the ball. Why are they leaving him wide open like that in the middle? I'm like wondering what the hell.
I
Nick your
don't know,
seven to
man.
get over there.
When I'm watching Chiefs games and it's 3rd and 4, I'm like, how about you put 2 guys on Kelsey, bracket him,
And then he's
and
by
next thing you
himself.
know,
He's in a freeze frame with by
yeah,
himself.
he's wide open. I'm like, come on, man. I don't think it's that hard. It's not rocket science. But
Nah,
I do want to say something about Josh Allen, and of course, it's easier when you win the game. But he was so gracious the other night. He's a class act, man. I like Josh Allen.
even though they try to act like he's not, they bring up that nonsense from the past every time. It's just BS. But yeah, he comes across as a legitimately decent, good dude. He even
Mhm.
stuck by Stephon Diggs nonsense last season.
Yeah, like I said, when I heard his interview, he gave all the respect in the world to the Ravens and Lamar, and he didn't have to do that. He could have just propped up his team. We're excited. We're going to Kansas City. All that cliche stuff that people say.
Yep.
But again, and yeah, it's easier after you win. But he didn't have to give the Ravens that respect, and he did. And to me, he's a class act.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think also because man, these players feel for one another, man. And when you respect a player, probably in Lamar's case, he's probably one of the more respected players in the league. Doing what he's done for all this time, hasn't won the big one, and it was on his. It was always his fault in the beginning, or even to the extent now. I think sometimes you just feel for them. They keep going and keep missing it, and he knows, and these other players know the burden that's on Lamar Jackson, regardless of what he's doing. If you don't get a Super Bowl, they're just going to keep showing your postseason record and saying how bad you were. And then people telling you how you didn't deserve this. He's a Hall of Famer right now. If he were to retire today, he's a Hall
No
of Famer.
doubt.
But then there are going to be people acting as if Dan Marino won a championship. He shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be this guy. He shouldn't be looked at as that kind of player. He was one dimensional. All he did was run. And then you see 41-4 before this past season. That doesn't
You-
even make sense. But
so
this is what they do, though.
it's so crazy, man, because Joe Burrow gets so respect because he beat Brady one time, and
Yeah,
he
right.
didn't even make the playoffs this year. Every year after year, the Bengals start out slowly. Is it Joe Burrow's fault? I don't know, but
Well, I don't know,
eventually,
man.
eventually, if you're giving Lamar Jackson all this grief, all this flack, you're giving Josh Allen all this love. The quarterbacks they get they get all the love or they get all the hate.
Yeah.
Well, why does Joe Burrow get a pass?
Because he went to that Super Bowl and he was the number one
But
pick
for not
overall.
making the playoffs.
Yeah, he doesn't make the playoffs, but I guess that's a little bit of money in the bank if they see the injuries he's had, so they can always claim that it's not necessarily all his fault. Or they may even talk about when he had that awful offensive line. You know what? Put Joe Burrow on this Baltimore team. What happens in this playoff game? bro.
Yeah, he don't
I'm
have
thinking they
Jamar
win.
Chase.
I'm
He
thinking they
don't have
win.
Jamar Chase to
You wouldn't
throw
have
to.
Jamar Chase, but this guy makes decisions all the time. Jamar Chase is that guy you can go to when you need that big play. But Joe Burrow can also spread the love, and we've seen him do that from college to the pros. He can spread that love when he needs to, and he would have Derrick Henry. And if they're loading up on Derrick Henry, pick your poison. He's picking you apart, even with average players.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not what it is. And so, damn, we got to move on from this. And
Like
so, who do you
I'm
pick?
picking the Bills, man, but it's so
Because that's the
hard.
team you picked, or because you believe that's what's going to happen? You just got to go with it because you picked it.
I'm on the fence. Like initially, I went with them because I picked them preseason. I got to stick with them. That's who I picked. But man, they're going to Kansas City, and that is a very experienced team. They
Very
don't beat
cold.
themselves. They do not beat themselves.
None.
And as you touched on early, sometimes they get a call here, a
The
call
refs
there.
didn't let you beat them either.
I hope that's not the case, man. Let Buffalo play. Give them a fair shot.
I wish that does happen. But yeah, I'm going to roll with Buffalo in that game on the road, getting themselves to a Super Bowl with a real opportunity to end the curse, going 4 times in a row in the past, being the most infamous team in the NFL's history, doing that and losing. But they may have a chance to do it, and we'll find out once they play against Kansas City. So now we have that one game left. Who do you take between Buffalo? Oh, well, Buffalo, right? Who do you take between Washington and Philly? If
Philly.
you go first on this one.
I'm going Philly. I just think Saquon, he's going to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
They may tackle better. They may limit his 60-yard rushes to 1 or 2, but
But if they're touchdowns, that could be the
but
difference.
that doesn't mean that they're still not that they're not moving the sticks just because he's not running for 60 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He may get 7, and then they may get 4. They're gonna move the sticks. And you can't forget about Jalen Hurts and his legs. You know, if he's a limited passer, he's still a very good runner.
He got banged up a little bit in this past game.
Ooh,
So,
that's right. I forgot about that.
and
Is
I'm
he
going
gonna
with
be healthy?
Washington. One of the reasons why I'm going with Washington, because if he's already a little
Because
bit
he
banged
can't
up,
run.
he
I
can't
forgot
run as
about that.
well, probably can't move in the pocket as well. And even when he was moving in the pocket well, he wasn't finding anybody. He wasn't doing very well throwing the ball. He hasn't been the same player, as I've said, since that Super Bowl where he could have gotten the MVP, even on a losing team. I'm taking Washington. Jayden Daniels has that it factor. I don't think we have to even go this far to even ask or say that he has the it factor. He's been having it from the beginning of the season and kept doing it. It got him here. They didn't
Yeah,
head to the Super Bowl in his rookie season.
yeah, I think he's going to play well. I just don't think they'll have the ball enough with Philly running the ball and limiting possessions. I'm thinking something like 27-21, 27-24, maybe.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a close game because that old NFC East is coming back. I just like that it's that old NFC East battle that I grew up watching. I'm not an NFC
I hope I'm
person, but
wrong though. I hope I'm wrong. Even as a Bears fan, I'm a Jayden Daniels fan. And fuck
mhm.
Philly. Fuck Philly, fuck their fans. Most of them are assholes. So fuck the Eagles.
Well, my first favorite team, my first favorite player at least, was Wilbur Montgomery from the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, I've always been a Jets
31.
fan. Yeah, number 31. That boy was fast, man. That's all I saw as a kid. This guy could get out. He could get up. And I've always been a Wilbur Montgomery fan, even though I was been a Jets fan. But what the hell was there to like about the damn Jets even back then? But I know, right? But I was in Washington yesterday, and of course, everybody dressed in the Washington Commanders colors, wishing it was Redskins. But yeah, it was, of course, you can see that they were in the area. They're not bandwagon fans. They're just supporting their team. That's one of the few teams that you can know that their fans are there for the real reasons. A handful of teams are like that, going back to charter members like the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, going back to the New York or even Philadelphia and Washington. Those are the teams and the players or the fan base is always going to be there. And anything in Boston, whether I like them or not, anything New England and Boston, same thing. They came with who got them there and they stay there. They criticize, they're harsh, they treat them like family, good and bad, but they're still there at the end of the day. But I'm taking
Can,
Washington.
can you imagine if the Ravens and Redskins went to the Super Bowl to play each other?
Oh, that would
That
have been.
DMP area would be nuts.
Oh, would it? Would it be insane? It would be absolutely insane. That would have been something, man. We were deprived this year, and I'm hoping it's not a one and done for Jayden Daniels. I'm hoping it's not, in terms of getting this far. hope this is something that where they built the team they have, they can add to that team, and he can continue to grow as a player, and this can be a constant. Kind of like Patrick Mahomes, he's there all the time. He's at a point to where if he loses a game, you're almost like you can say, "So what?" It's important, but you don't want him to say that. But he's won so much. What more is there to do but win more?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Losing and saying,
Um,
you know what? So what? That's no big deal. But
yeah,
anyway,
if he can get this third one in a row, something nobody else has done.
nobody, not in the Super Bowl
He
era.
he doesn't have to play for 25 years like Brady to
No,
become
he
the
didn't. Nope. And Andy Reid, that's another story. He may be out the door after this. If he
yeah.
wins three straight,
I
there's no
predict
reason
if
for
they
him to be
win,
around.
yeah, if they win this Super Bowl this year, I think Andy Reid retires.
Yeah, because it's not even just the grind of being out there. I already talked about it's the grind of even being at the games. 20-degree weather, minus sub-zero weather, and all that other stuff that a coach has to stand out there and be in.
Not icicles and all.
Yeah, all of that, man. Yeah, the Walrus look. My man is out there getting all frostbitten. But yeah, we can end that with the NFL. But going back to college a little bit, I looked at that NIL. They're talking about what Ohio State won with it, $20 million in NIL money. They money well spent and all that. This is college football now. This is pretty much a salary cap thing now. These are essentially pro players coming out of high school. They're getting these guarantees. And that's why they're going to these particular schools instead of just going to where they organically went in the past. Even though it might have been something under the table, everything's in the open now, and players are going where they're going. And now they're opening and offering in the open, they're doing that as well. So go figure. So I don't look at them, even though I don't like Ohio State, even though I don't like Notre Dame. Looking at what Ohio State did, they did what everybody else is doing. Everybody's playing on the same field, at least the big boys, and they can just Texas can throw money around to anybody. The most money out of all these teams in Division 1A.
It's a non-issue. I mean, it's not like
That's
they're
what it
doing
is. It's a
something.
non-issue. They're making
They're
it an
not
issue.
doing anything that any other school can do. So I mean, you just tip your hat to them. They got it done.
Yeah, and they're saying it now as they weren't saying that, or they weren't even ridiculing it when they lost to Michigan. They wasn't even ridiculing it. Look at that, I wasted $20 million. They didn't even bring it up.
Speaking of that game, I think that was necessary for them to win the playoffs. If they beat Michigan, they probably stumble against Tennessee or Oregon or somebody. That game got them right.
You know what? Maybe it
That
did.
loss.
And Ryan Day, you can't do nothing about him. Can't say anything about him now. They can talk about how they got there, this and that, but they still with the hardest road than probably any other team in the past.
Did I apologize to him yet?
Huh?
Did I apologize to him?
Well, right now you hadn't.
Oh, because I predicted they were going to lose to Tennessee and he would get whacked. So
he whacked the hell out of Tennessee, bro.
My bad. My apologies. You proved me wrong.
I like Ryan Day. I mean, I said it during the season. I like Ryan Day. I don't see this problem that I know others were talking about. He needs to go. I understand in that area why you would say that, because it's the rivalry between Michigan. Almost everything else doesn't matter. But he's the national champion now, has 2 losses. This is probably what we're going to be seeing in the future. We're not going to probably see these undefeated teams anymore. Too many damn games, too much of attrition, all of those injuries, and that's probably what's going to end up happening. So, and now looking forward to, they got all 56 votes for, as national champs. No one else got any more votes, but they're looking at there's been 6 teams, I believe, this year, 6 or 7 teams this year that did not lose by more than a touchdown. And Miami's one of those teams. I was surprised. But that offense, I'm like, oh, okay. But now they look at the odds for next year, and your team, Nebraska, 101. It's not ridiculous now, not out there like 2,000 like they had other teams in the past. But Ohio State able to win it all again.
101 what?
100 to 1. 100 to 1 odds.
Oh, 100 to 1. I thought you said 100 to 1.
Yeah, 100 to 1
Yeah, but
odds.
we got to talk about Ben Johnson going to the Bears.
Ben Johnson. How we can forget this? We was on that Detroit thing. I was going to say that we'll, trying to transition into what you were thinking about Ben Johnson now as your head coach.
So, like I said, I thought he panicked Saturday night. So, and he's never been high on my wish list. However, I heard a guy on the radio from Detroit with guys on here in Chicago, and they, by all accounts, he's not a nice guy. I mean, not that he's a bad guy. He's just not one of those nice guys like Matt Eberflus or Matt Nagy or
he just gets the job done.
Jim Tressel? No. He coached Ohio State, right?
Jim Tressel, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember
Tressman?
the Bears coach, Tressman. Yeah, all really, really nice guys, but bad coaches. He's saying he will cuss anybody out. He says it's hard to be dominant when Dan Campbell squeezes, all of the energy out of the
Yeah,
room with his dominance. But if anybody comes close, he says it's Ben Johnson. So I'm like, okay, well, I can roll with that, because we need a take charge guy,
yeah.
a guy who's not going to take any BS. Um, and I think he's working on bringing what's his name from the Saints as a defensive coordinator. I just wonder, is he gonna have an offense coordinator, or is he gonna call his own plays and have
Yeah, that's the problem right there.
what- I don't know, but um he seems to really like Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams seems to really like him. So
If he
hopefully,
can make Jared Goff that decent looking, bro, come on now. Come on.
hopefully,
I got a lot more respect for Caleb Williams than I have for
ho-
Jared Goff, and that's a vet.
hopefully it's a good marriage. My only thing is, and I don't even know if it's a negative, when they lost Saturday night, I mean, like they hired him like that, right?
Yeah,
Monday they got
we've
him.
been having the interviews. Yeah,
So right, so but that tells me, well, it doesn't tell me, but I think
he was half-assing.
that's their guy. That was their guy all along.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they interviewed 15 other guys, as soon as he became available, they're like, "Yo, we jumped
Yeah,
on him,"
they had to
and that
appease that
makes me
Rooney
think.
Rule first.
That makes me think back to Ryan Poles saying they're going to do their due diligence with all of the quarterbacks. But then he didn't. He didn't go to Jayden Daniels Pro Day. He didn't bring Jayden Daniels to
He
Chicago.
already was
He
stuck on his
didn't go
one guy.
see Drake May. He didn't go see Bo Nix. He didn't go see JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix. The only one he went to was Caleb Williams.
Number one
Don't
pick.
lie to me. That's just don't lie to me, man. All right.
I mean, you get the number one pick overall. You call all the shots anyway. Everybody. If anybody wants that pick, they got to come to you. So that's the only pick that you can guarantee as the owner of that pick that you're going to be able to make. Unless somebody comes with some outrageous blockbuster deal, that's what you probably hope. But because of this alleged generational quarterback that we thought
Yeah, but
wasn't
but
necessarily.
for somebody like me who thinks Jayden Daniels is the pick, don't tell me you're gonna do your due diligence
Mhm.
and then not do your due diligence.
And get Caleb Williams, bro.
Wait,
Now
you
we just.
you you clearly wanted Caleb, you favored Caleb, and you didn't take the time to get to know anybody else, to evaluate anybody else. And that's what I have a problem with, because you told me you were going to do it.
Well, they got their guy now, and we hopefully, or at least you hopefully, have a coach who could bring out the best or put him in a better position. Because, like I said, so many times, Chicago made the most splash plays in the offseason, bringing in the players they brought, and it was pretty specifically offensive. And you wanted to give their rookie quarterback the best chance possible. And he started, showing that inconsistency as quarterbacks show. But everybody wants that CJ Stroud. Now they want that Jayden Daniels. And it just happens to be that number 2 pick now in the past 2 drafts ends up being the guy who should have been number 1
Right?
overall. Let's see what happens in this upcoming draft, where I don't think a quarterback should go at all in the top 10, but we'll see how that works out as the combine is like around the corner now, just next month. We're looking to see that. Have you heard about Josh McDaniels, now offensive coordinator with the Patriots again, a
Right.
third stint? This dude's been an NFL head coach, what, 2 times? He's been with the Raiders. He's been with the Denver Broncos when he made that Tim Tebow pick. Now he's here back as an offensive coordinator with New England. Mike Vrabel leading the way, former Patriot himself, so they got that familiarity. So he might
That
be the
kind of
North
makes
Turner of
sense.
our era.
They're getting the band back together.
Yeah, and it looks like they are. He might be the next North Turner. He just can't be a head coach, but he's a damn good freaking offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniel.
Yeah.
That might be
We'll
what it
see.
is. But anyway, that'll be it for today. The Sports Bag Bros podcast will be coming back on a Thursday, so that's not too far away. Tomorrow, then skip it to Thursday. But the way things are going, I'm sure we're going to have even more news about new coaches and new places. Now, more teams have been eliminated from the playoff picture. Now they can take their jobs and move. But there's been a lot of movement. There's been a lot of coaches interviewed anyway. He's biased. I'm trying.
Wait. I got one more thing to say. Joel Embiid, you get the 2 fingers.
Oh no! What did he do? I didn't hear about it.
Talking about all these old heads from the 80s and 90s talking about what they would do nowadays and blah, 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 blah. Hey, you ain't never won nothing, Joel Embiid. You
Joel
can't talk
Embiid just
junk to
talks, man.
nobody. Not like you got 4 championships like Steph or
This
4
the
like
Kevin Plant
LeBron,
season.
5 like
Baby.
Kobe had. You got 0. You barely get to conference finals, dude. You lose game 7s. Philly gets to a game 7. It's an automatic L for you, man. Come on. Shut the
Why are
hell
they
up
acting like
about
these old heads are
players
bitter,
from the
man?
80s and 90s.
Why are they acting like the guys are bitter? The old heads are bitter. Like when Allen Iverson said that it was Mike Jordan in terms of competitiveness, and then there's just Kobe, and then everybody else. All of a sudden, LeBron fans are about to have a heart attack. Now they don't like AI. How you not like AI? This dude is legendary, man. You're gonna not like AI after all these years because he left LBJ out of the argument? And this was just talking about being competitive. It wasn't asking about who's better. God, dudes are in their feelings over the wrong things these days, man, and it just bugs me out. I know as this continues to go on, more NBA basketball is starting to take place because we're just 2 weeks from Sunday away from the Super Bowl, and that'll end the entire NFL season, at least the season. You still have the off season going on. Again, these bias. I'm Travis, the Sports Bag Bros podcast will be back on Thursday, but until then, deuces.
Peace.